Okay, so I'm re-recording this because the first time I did, the audio was kind of like ass, like really bad. You could barely hear me. So I'm just gonna record this again. I was scrolling through Twitter, right? GD Twitter, and I see this account. I don't know what was happening, but they were like reposting this since the GD community. They said something about the GD community defending racists. So I'm like, well, this is probably gonna be a great thing to hear. And I see a video of W Popoff, the top player, and someone else, Mizuki GD, just spamming the N-word in a call. I looked through the comments and I expected some, some reasonable takes that I could agree with. Too bad I was in the GD community. The takes that I actually agreed with were few and far between. Before I get into what really makes me mad, let me just give my stance on the entire thing. I saw Mizuki made an apology whenever I first looked through this all, but then whenever I was going to make this video, I wanted to look back on the apology, but the account is gone. So I can't really talk that much about Mizuki, and also I don't really care about talking about Mizuki. W Popoff obviously should not have said that. He knows this. And the comments half agreed, which is what I was frankly terrified about. They were like, yeah, he's a kid. He shouldn't be saying this. But he'll grow up. Let me just interject really quick. People are saying that he shouldn't be canceled for this. He's definitely not being canceled. I'll say that right now, considering how everyone's reacting. I think you should be called out for this because, well, clearly, if you're not called out for this, you aren't going to learn. How do I know this? Well, why don't we just take a look at Mizuki GD over here, 19 years old, and still saying it. He hasn't learned for 18 years, and no, maybe he learned. I don't know. The account's gone. I think he needed to be called out. He's not getting canceled. There's no way. No one's fucking canceling. Be so for real. But he should be called out for it, because if you aren't getting called out, you aren't going to learn from this. I mean, you might learn from it, but being called out, that's one of the best ways to learn from this, is it not? I think that clears up my stance on the actual people involved, but let's talk about the GD community, the real reason I made this video. I'm going through the comments, and one of the big points I see is that it's just a word. Oh, okay. So it may be a word, but it is not just a word. Just a word is like the. Just a word is a, Words have meaning. Yeah? Words have meaning, right? That word's meaning is not good. Cannibalism is just a word, but you aren't going to have the same reaction to cannibalism as you are going to have to the word the, right? And my whole thing is that, like, it may be just a word to you, but it's not just a word to other people. So I think not only should you take into account yourself, you should also not be, is the word I'm looking for selfish? I don't know. Self-centered? If the word doesn't mean anything to you, you should at least understand that it means something to other people, and you should not be saying it because it's just a word. So many things are just a word, but you don't have to say them. My issue with it is the community's reaction. Everyone's downplaying it. What did Nepesta say? Where is it? He said in a tweet, Europeans seem to have a problem avoiding that word for some reason, especially the more east you go. I've done my quote unquote research, and I've looked through all the people saying it doesn't matter, we don't fucking care, it's just a word. Majority of them, 90%, probably 95 actually, are not from the USA. And then that makes you think, well, is this an excuse? Why are they saying that? And another comment under Nepesta's tweet makes a pretty good point. I think it's in part due to not having as rich of a history of slavery and oppression, and also in part due to straight up language differences, as in many different languages, their word for the color black is some variation on what we would call the N-word. Which, again, it's not an excuse, but it's because of different cultural norms, and right, and that's a fair thing. You aren't invalid for like different you aren't invalid for having different experiences than other people. I think what is pretty damn invalid though is belittling other people or belittling their experiences as if they simply don't matter, which again, yeah, no, I saw a lot of that, not just on Twitter. Wavix's comment section, you know that guy, the Geometry Dash, the Geometry Dash drama guy, you know that guy? He made a community post about it, and it's like, yeah, he'll grow from it. And Mizuki is pretty weird for saying it at 16. And most of the comments are like, yeah. But also, there are some comments that are just like, we don't care. And if you go to their YouTube channel, either they're like, no, not either. Usually, most of the time, I personally have not found one that wasn't. They aren't from America. And of course, they're gonna have different experiences than black people. And they probably won't even experience why it is so bad, right? Because I'm pretty sure that they just don't get it. They don't get why this word is so oppressive, why this word is so derogatory, even if they're told so. But my main problem is, just because you don't find it derogatory doesn't mean that other people don't find it derogatory. And it's just common courtesy at that point to just not say it, is it not? Even if you don't understand why it's so bad, even if you don't want to, even if you never will, it's just respect and empathy at that point. Don't say the word because it means something to other people. And honestly, I think I've only seen one other person, maybe two other people, bring this up. But ultimately, you shouldn't be saying it out of a place of respect for other people and what they've gone through, right? A respect for others' culture, right? That's not like an insane take, right? I wouldn't imagine this. Ultimately, I think it's just a problem with empathy. People are lacking that a lot now. I don't know. It goes the same as like using a trans person's respective name or like pronouns, I guess. It's just courtesy, you know? You may not get it, but be a little bit empathetic, you know? Have a bit of respect for what people have gone through. That's really just all it is. I did see a few comments on Wavix's channel that I'd like to bring up. I need to pull up his YouTube channel though right now. If you scroll down for a while, you can see some guy, an entire drama only for a word. I don't want to speak English ever again. You go to their account. Yeah, not a native English speaker. Because again, it doesn't mean anything to them. It's just a word. But my point is, even if you see it as just a word, you should respect the people who don't want you to say it, right? But the real comment that made me say this, if you scroll down a bit, you can see a guy. He starts to come with hot takes, saying the N-word really isn't that deep, as long as you don't use it to insult a black person that you don't know intentionally. And the person's like, I agree, someone below them. But then they go on and say, I ain't black and I say it all the time. And they get 6 likes. So I really don't know where all the people's like energy came from. Because the first comment, the comment that made it all, had 53 likes, but then this reply had 6. And I mean, if you are straight up using their logic, that is where their logic leads you. One person in this thread I can agree with. I'm a random person. I gave them a sub because I was like, holy shit, they're so real for that. Trivializing this word doesn't really do justice to the horrifying history of violence behind it, and I don't think you should get to decide whether or not it's that deep if you haven't dealt with this form of racism. There are perfectly fine alternatives to use in many contexts. Why is it so hard to use those over the one you know is a slur? And then person below them says, then you shouldn't decide whether it's okay or not since you didn't have to deal with the violence. I guess I have to say, I'm a random person is right there. Does that fucking solidify it for you? Anyway, the person's like, you think so? I don't know. I've heard too many people say it's not that deep. So then I'm like, I go to their channel and it's a video that's not in English. So I'm like, okay, you are going to hear people saying it's not that deep because that's just gonna be the people who you interact with. If you don't interact with Americans who hmm, have an entirely different view of the word because of their culture, you aren't going to get you're going to get a skewed general consensus. Yeah, I'm a random person just fucking sums it up perfectly, especially for someone who's not black. Good job. It doesn't necessarily make one a racist person, but it does show a lack of consideration for those who've suffered in the past and will suffer today from the racism that led to the creation of this word in the first place, which, as you said, is childish but also ignorant. And I think what I'm a random person is saying is actually one of the best summaries of what I'm trying to get at. Basically all of this, TLDR, I don't really know about Mizuki, but Pop-Off's not being fucking canceled, dude. Pop-Off's just getting called out for saying something that honestly he should be called out for. And it's a good thing his mom stepped in. Should not have been called on him though. His mom should have stepped in, but you should not be fucking harassing. You should not be pinging his fucking mom on Twitter, dude. That's a weird. He should be called out, because if you don't, you're gonna end up like Mizuki and saying the N-word at 19. And the Judy community expressing apathy towards it, because it's either they said it before or the word just doesn't mean that much though. And that's fair, but you also have to understand that you aren't going naturally growing out of that doesn't happen for everyone, clearly. So there has to be at least some sort of call out. And the people who the word just doesn't mean enough to them, I've already said it. It means something to other people. Be empathetic. Even if you don't get it, just respect it, you know? You don't have to say it. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. If you stuck through this all and watched it, wow. Thanks for hearing me out. I didn't think anyone would do that. Yeah, I didn't like seeing this, and I felt really compelled to make a video about this, because this fucked me up. Bye though. And thanks. Oh my god, someone in the comments said, welcome back 4chan, that's so real. Oh my god, this is the fucking... This is the Let America Think For Me account. With the Ukrainian flag and the Israel flag.